Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. Let me see if I can figure out what's going on my screen. Hmm. Well, hmm. Well, I guess I'll just leave it the way it is. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Mike isn't here yet, so you can all hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Let's offer the mandala. So please make the mudra for the offering the mandala. Here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayame. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, to the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and to the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Okay, I'm trying to figure out why my screen is. Hmm. Well, okay, rejoicing, the fun part of class. Let's see who's going to start. Okay, Svetlana, you're in my upper left corner, so you're up.
Hello, dear Venerable Sumati. Hello, everyone. Today I have two moments to rejoice about. The first one is about not getting upset. Today I messed up some data preparation at my job even before, and it was revealed today. And instead of putting myself down in my inner criticism, I went for a break and had good time and was concentrating on some good positive issues, generating some good positive thoughts, and then the whole situation was resolved in a nice way. And the second one moment, when I was in the subway, a woman was angry at me because I was entering to the carriage at the end, and I was pushing her a little, maybe even not a little bit, and she was angry at me, saying, and I didn't feel strong anger to her in response, and I was trying to be polite and calm. And I also want to rejoice about it because at those moments I was thinking maybe she's like high special being who is going to make a connection with me, to teach me a lesson, and etc. So I tried to turn this situation in a positive way, and it helps not to get upset and angry, and uh, to practice my patience and love attitude. So I rejoice in using wisdom and dedicate in growing wisdom for the benefit of all living beings.
Very good. That's an excellent example of what I mean when I talk about taking a life situation and making it into a teaching. So she was angry that you pushed her to get in. Do you remember what you said to calm her down, or
Oh, like she touched me, and then I turned around, and she told me like, actually, I'm staying here, and I was looking at her, and then I saw that there are lots of space behind her, so like it's possible to go inside to the carriage, and I told her there is some space behind, and she told, so then you please go there. I just replied that I'm exiting the next station, and she thought I also exiting soon. So this was our conversation, yes. But inner state was very important, not to get afraid or frustrated.
yeah?
This.
Did you, just curious, did you ask her permission to move a little bit so you could get in?
No, I didn't ask your permission. I
Mm.
just entered the carriage when there are lots of people, but I just used to go to the subway where everyone is like pushing, staying like this, etc. And she was staying with her phone, and it was put in my bag. So for me, it was an unusual kind of behavior not to to
Yeah.
to
Well,
go
no,
like this.
yeah, I'm not criticizing you, Svetlana, for what happened. I'm trying to think what would be the right another way of doing it. So you get in and you say, I'm getting out at the next station, so I'm just going to stay here, and I apologize for whatever, um, something like that. So you've made a, oh, how can I say it? You've admitted that you're in her space and you apologize without her having said anything. And then remember that what's manifested, what ripened there is something you did in the past that caused an inconvenience. So good. That's exactly what I'm talking about with a life situation. Okay, Katya, do you have a subway story?
No, no, I want to rejoice in the great help that Anna, Daria, and Sultana gives to ACI. I always see them in the chats, like sending videos, sending the posting the reminders of the classes and recording a lot of things. So I rejoice in their and in how they help ACI, and I dedicate it so that we can increase our goodness.
Very good. And you'll have their help or someone like them in the future because you're thinking of it and you're recognizing it as a karma manifesting, and you want that karma to continue to manifest. So excellent. Okay. Daria.
Good morning, Venerable Sumati. I rejoice to see a lot of happy children, I'm so sorry, people, because today I work with a lot of children and I'm happy to see children. Yes. And yesterday I was a little bit maybe not aggressive, but it's angry. But I said myself, stopped, and if these people was bad, they always they must say all is bad. But it's today I saw it's a very amazing person. Yesterday I saw not a good person. It's very strange, our world. And I say, okay, stop, it's your seat. And today, after that, I saw a lot of happy person. When I say myself, it's your seats. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting thing
That's right.
because we need to remember all the time that it's our seeds ripening. I'm going to try hypnosis to see if I can work on my posture through hypnosis. And hypnosis is working on my mind as if there's a entity there to work on. And so I have to remember that I'm working on seeds. The hypnosis is working on the ripening of seeds. I need to figure that out because it's easier to think if there's just some compartment in my mind that hypnosis is going to open. And so, but I do that a week from today. So I'm looking forward to being able to see if maybe that will help. I think this desk has made a big difference, and now I just have to keep working at it. But so I'm rejoicing that my physical therapist is moving to Detroit, Michigan to take over the directorship of a brand new Parkinson's treatment center. And I'm just really happy for her. I'm sad that she's not going to be my therapist anymore. She leaves next week. So that's got me a little depressed, but I'm very happy for her. It's a huge promotion. They headhunted her. I don't know if you know what that term means. In the United States, if you're headhunted, that means somebody looked and wanted to find you and you alone as their candidate for a job. So you don't apply for the job. They find you and they ask you if you want to interview. So if you consider all the physical therapists in the United States and all the ones that specialize in Parkinson's, to actually have somebody call you and ask you if you want to interview is a pretty big deal. So that's very rejoicable. Okay. And I think all the translators don't want to do rejoicing, so I don't see Mike. Okay, well, let's move ahead. So before we get on to the 48,
I think
excuse me.
Anna is missing.
Okay, Anna, do you want to rejoice?
Oh, thank you. Hello, dear Venerable Sumati and everyone. About my rejoicing, I sought out my wardrobe today, finally, and a miracle happened. I found some absolutely new clothes, and I am very happy about this because I try to spend resources wisely and not to buy unnecessary things, a lot of clothes, a lot of some different goods. So I'm very happy that I found some new T-shirts, trousers, and so on, and I don't need to buy something in some close period. Thank you.
Oh, you forgot that you had them?
Yeah, I just
That's the first sign of senility, Anna. That's the first sign you're getting old when you buy clothes and forget that you have them. I'm
yeah,
kidding.
but I found it's also good.
Yeah, good. Well, it sounds like it made you happy.
Yeah.
That's good. I don't like shopping for clothes because when I try on a pair of pants and they're 36, 34 pants, I expect the next pair from a different manufacturer to fit me if they're 36, 34, and they never do. My problem is I have favorite clothes that I wear until they fall off of me. The trouble is I have a pair of shoes. We're going to get me a new pair of shoes today. I've had this pair of shoes for 10 years. They're a hiking shoe, and 10 years. They were $200, and I know my wife is going to choke at that. But if you look at it in 10 years, that's $20 a year for a pair of good shoes. That's $1.50 a month. That's pretty cheap. So I rejoiced in Emily's good fortune. Oh, I found out yesterday for a brief period, one of my books was number 8 on a bestseller list. So that was kind of fun. I checked this morning. Now it's at 45th, 41st. So it didn't last long, but it was fun to see. Okay. I'd like to review the 4 chains, then we're going to get on to the 46 secondary vows. So let's review the 4 chains. These must be in your mind as you are planning the deed and then carrying it out. So, number 1, not to consider what you're doing or going to do as something wrong. If you think it's wrong to do the deed at any time during or before you do it, even for a moment, you don't break the vow. So it doesn't mean go ahead and do something, because if you think it's not a good idea, you don't break the vow. It means in these 4 chains, you have to try pretty darn hard to break the vow. So you need to do that. That needs to be in your mind. You need to be willing to do it again. If you have one moment of regret, you don't break the vow. Number 3, you enjoy doing it. If you regret doing it, then you don't break the vow. If you don't enjoy doing it, you don't break the vow. Number 4, you don't have any shame about doing a deed for reasons relating to you or to others. So it doesn't, I want to emphasize the 4 chains are difficult to do, but it doesn't mean you won't damage your vow. You won't lose it. And a damaged vow is not something you want to have. So remember the 4 chains and try hard to put them into your thought process when you're going over your vows. Okay, let's see if I can get my mouse to do what I want it to do. Okay. On to the 48 secondary vows. Excuse me, 46 secondary vows. So what's the difference between a root vow and a secondary vow? The secondary vows can be fully restored by confessing them to another person with the 4 forces in mind. There are 2 ways to break the secondary vows. You have to be afflicted with anger and pride, or laziness and forgetfulness. So 34 of the secondary vows are related to the 6 perfections. The first 7 of these secondary vows are related to the perfection of giving. Then 8 through 16 are related to the perfection of morality. 17 through 20, perfection of patience. 21 through 23, perfection of joyous effort. 24 through 26, perfection of concentration. 27 through 34, perfection of wisdom, and 35 through 46, morality. First 7, as I said, are against the perfection of giving. So, number 1, not to offer the 3 to the 3 jewels. This refers to offering your body, speech, and mind. At a minimum, each day you should do some physical reverence to the 3 vows, bow or prostrate. Verbally, you must say at least a minimum of 4 lines about the 3 jewels. Say something good about them. Mentally, offer good thoughts or awareness or attempt to study emptiness once a day. The Dharma jewel consists of the direct perception of emptiness, spiritual realizations, and the cessation of mental afflictions. The Sangha jewel are those who have perceived emptiness directly. You must make body, speech, and mind offerings to all 3 jewels each day. When we're going for refuge in the 3 jewels, we're really aspiring to reach the direct perception of emptiness and the subsequent cessations. The immediate goal is no longer doubt the path, no longer doubt things are self-existent, and will not carry out harmful practices. The long term, living a life according to what you know to be true. So we are praying to this ideal. Number 2, to allow improper thoughts of desire to go on. Improper means you have a state of mind which is never satisfied with what you have. Excessive sensual desires or an attachment to have others praise you would be examples. Any effort at all to prevent it will prevent you from breaking the vow. Desire becomes excessive when you do something wrong to fulfill it. An example would be non-mentally afflicted. Wanting chocolate cake is not allowing desire to go on. What would be is to be willing to take the last piece of cake when you know that it was being saved for someone else and you do not struggle not to take it. This is the example Geshe Michael in the past has used with Tom Horton donuts. Geshe Michael loves maple-covered donuts. And Tom Horton's shops are all over, donut shops are all over Canada. Dunkin' Donuts would be probably the analogy in America. And he talks about going in, hypothetically going into a Tom Hortons, and you walk by an elderly couple who you overhear say, "Oh, I'd really like to get a nice maple-covered donut." And you walk up to the counter and see that there's only one left. So the wrong thing to do would be to say, "Goody, I'm going to take it. I don't care about the elderly people." The right thing to do would be to wait, to hesitate, to go get some coffee maybe and let them come and get the last donut. Because what's probably going to happen is the donut store owner is going to bring out a whole other tray of maple-covered donuts. But you don't know that. So what you do know is that by not taking that last donut, you've made somebody else very happy, and you've done it consciously with a desire to make someone else happy. And that's what we're trying to do as bodhisattvas. It seems rather trivial for talking about donuts, but I'm trying to think of another example. No. Okay, number 3, not respecting elders. Elders are someone who's taken a bodhisattva vow before you, no matter what their age. By respect, we mean offering them first the food or drink, you hold the door, you stand up when they enter the room, etc. Since you don't know who a bodhisattva is, a good plan is to do this for everyone. And the only problem with that is when you go to Diamond Mountain, everybody's trying to open the door and make you go through the door first or go get in line ahead of them. It's like I don't mind standing in line. Well, I don't stand in line anymore because I can't hold the plate, so that takes care of me. But it is right. It is pretty funny when you see, especially the new students who just taken a bodhisattva vows. No, no, you go first. No, no, you go first. It is. It's not funny laughing at them. I'm laughing with them. Number 4, not answering a question. This means not answering a question or giving an inadequate answer to any question, not just Dharma question. As a bodhisattva, we're paying attention to others' needs, so we'd be breaking the vow to ignore them or give them a flippant answer. There is an exception here, and this exception pops up quite a bit in the 46 secondary vows. You're sick, you're sleepy, you're groggy, you've been teaching and it interrupts the flow, or you want to teach a lesson to the student. That last one, you have to be careful about teaching a lesson to a student. Flippant answers to a question. You have to be careful. It's hard to explain. Give the answer. If a student asks you a question, you can't answer it right away. What would you want to hear a teacher tell you? If you went up to Geshe Michael and asked him a question, you'd like him to say, I'll consider that, or good question. Let's talk after class. Not just, I don't have time to answer that right now, or go look it up. So you want to give, it's like I say, you want to listen the way you want to be heard. If you want to get your questions answered, you have to answer questions others have of you in a timely, enthusiastic manner. Okay, number 5, not to accept a sincere invitation. There's the caveats to that are having accepted another invitation already, too far, dangerous to go. You feel you've been invited out of a bad motive. Not liking the person is not sufficient. That's an interesting one. We get invitations to do a lot, and this one's a little bit difficult to put into context. We don't drive at night, so unless someone can drive us at night, we can't go to functions that like the Sarani's brother has. He wants us to go over there for dinner. Well, we don't drive at night, so we need to take an Uber to do that, which we could, but they pretty well understand that we're not going to be out and about at night unless someone else is driving. Invitation. Okay. Not to accept money or gifts when it's sincerely offered. Now, this is interesting. There are some caveats here that I think are worth discussing. So, not to accept money, gifts, etc., when they're sincerely offered. Exceptions. You know you would get attached to the thing. You know the people who are giving it something but later regret giving it. You think the thing is stolen. It will hurt the person financially. It would be a problem for you to have it. You think they've already dedicated it to somebody else. So you know you get attached to the thing. I don't think I have anything that's been offered to me that covers that. You know, the person giving something will later regret giving it. I haven't really run into that one yet. You think the thing is stolen? I don't think that. It'll hurt the person financially. I was asked what kind of standing desk I wanted, so I did some research and I found one that, based on the desk surface we were going to put on it, that would have, it was recommended by the manufacturer, but it was a very expensive desk. And when they asked me which one I wanted, my first response was that one. And then I thought about it and I thought, look and see if you can find one that's less expensive and will fill the bill. Because it's quite possible the desk manufacturer you talk to is trying to sell you the higher priced item unnecessarily. And that's what salesmen are always there to try and get you to buy a slightly more expensive or more expensive thing. So it was a matter of being able to support the weight. And so I made the assertion that this other one was half the price, and I could modify it. Long story, but I could modify it to handle the greater weight if it was unstable. So we got it. We assembled it. We put it under the desk. It lifted the desk fine. It's exactly what I needed, and it was half the price of my original thought. So my point is, if someone asks me if they can get me something, I stop and I think about whether it would be financially difficult for them to do it. And then I try and figure out a different solution. This is just a tip from me. Don't make an offering to a teacher that's going to put you in financial jeopardy. If you have even a moment's thought that I can't really afford this, but that's regret in giving that particular offering. So instead, offer something you can easily afford. And to me, if you give me stories like Svetlana did today, you give me stories of how your practice is working in everyday life, that's a huge offering to me, because that means what I'm teaching you is sinking in and you're practicing it. Now, that doesn't mean I won't accept other offerings. I mean, chocolate's always good. Cookies, never turned down a cookie I didn't like. But the point being, for me, it's the simplest offering you can give. Now, I have quite a collection of heart-shaped rocks, so I don't need any more heart-shaped rocks from Diamond Mountain. But that was a joke. I do have quite a collection, but it's the offering has to be something sincere from your heart. And monetary value isn't important to me unless it's very expensive. And I feel that you've somehow jeopardized your livelihood. I'm trying to think if anybody's given me something like that. No. Okay. 7, not to give the Dharma to a person who wants it. In the root vows, the motivation is not giving out of attachment or not wanting to share it. The motivation for not doing that is laziness, anger, or anything other than attachment. Exceptions to teach a lesson, or you don't know, they can't get the meaning, they won't understand what you're saying. You don't believe it or aren't interested in what you're teaching. So, where's an example? I've told you before of the student in one of my review classes when I talked about getting angry at a bodhisattva destroys your root of virtue. And she freaked out. She was in the back of the class, and she just, because she had a reputation, I knew, of getting angry, very angry at people. She had a very easy trigger temper. So I made sure after class to talk to her and make sure she understood what I was talking about with the vow and in relation to a bodhisattva. It would have been wrong of me just to dismiss that and let her leave the class freaked out. So when you teach, not to give it, so here's a good example. You go somewhere and you want to teach the pen, but let's see who. Oh, the friend that Natalia got me connected with, who's got a brother or friend who's got Parkinson's, and he's not particularly spiritual. So she wanted some advice on how she can help him with it because he's getting pretty depressed. And so I said, well, he's not a Buddhist, correct? And she said, yeah, he's not a Buddhist. He doesn't believe in much of any of that. So I told her the story of my realizing after I started to drive that if I stopped and helped other people, I had the expectation with flat tires and stuff, I had the expectation that they would do so for my mom or my sisters. And that was a naive 17-year-old thinking about how the world works and not too far off from karma and emptiness. So what she would need to do is share with this friend that kind of a story in his lifetime. So do unto others as you would have them do unto you, kind of a thing. And she thought that might work. So I'm anxious to hear from her whether that helped or not. But he's suffering because he's got a different form than I do, Parkinson's than I do. The medication is not working really well. He's 50 some odd. He's got a 2-year-old child. So he's not much of a happy camper. Okay. Next. The next 9 vows are against the perfection of morality. So not to reach out to those who have broken their vows or done bad deeds. They're the ones who need your help the most because they're residing in the cause of suffering. Don't ignore or criticize them. It says here, if they're evil, you must resist them, and in general, shouldn't be badly influenced by them. Not to reach out to those who have broken their vows or done bad deeds. You got to be careful here. I have a vow that's a tantric vow that I can tell you about. I'm not supposed to. I'm trying to think if this is. Let's see, I'll have to look it up. Anyway, it's not point your feet at the altar and not to clasp your legs. You know how you're sitting, you draw your knees up to your chest and you put your arms around your knees. You're not supposed to do that at a teaching. Now, why, I don't know, but the feet, it's disrespectful to point your feet at the altar. So one of my friends was sitting clasped kneed like that. And I mentioned to her after the class I thought she was breaking a vow. I didn't do it very skillfully. And she's a good friend, so she didn't take great affront to it. But she looked at me and she said, I've been given permission by the lamas, so because of my back. So I felt about this big because I thought I was helping her. And when in fact I was being, in effect, rude. So what you do instead is you sit down maybe next to them and you clasp your legs and then you say, whoops, I'm not supposed to do that, and put your legs out straight. And hopefully they've heard you. Now, if they haven't, you gotta do it again. I'm kidding. You just, so you do it. That's where I would say is skillful means. You're trying to indicate to them that they've broken a vow. And if she then turns and says, no, it's okay, the Lama said I could, great. You haven't been confrontational or anything. So I guess my point is think of creative ways to help students practice their vows instead of, oh, I'm going to go tell them that they shouldn't have done that. Number 9, failing to follow the rules which if followed inspires faith in other people. This applies mainly to the monastic vows, but it can also apply to morality. If, for example, someone knows you're a Buddhist or a Bodhisattva and then you lie, they may think that Buddhists are less than honest in general. So we've talked about white lies. That continues to be a dilemma for me. Not that I tell a bunch of white lies, but I go out of my way not to lie about things. I really do. Sometimes it just means to be quiet, which for me is not easy to do. I like to talk, but so I think I'd like to let me get something to write on because I keep asking this and I forget to ask. I think I made this request before, but for next class, I'd like you to think about between now and then about whether you've told a white lie, and if so, what it was. So white lie homework. Because in some cases, white lies can be considered skillful means. But a lie is a lie. And I think, so that's why I spend a lot of time not getting myself in a situation where I have to try and tell a white lie. If I've forgotten to do something, I forgot instead of I'm getting to it. Because if you truly forgot, you're not getting to it. It isn't on your plate of things to do. You forgot about it. So you just say, I forgot. Now, when I say that to my lovely wife, sometimes I get the look, which means you keep forgetting that, dear. So I have to be careful. Getting the look from my wife can be terrifying. I'm kidding. She doesn't terrify me. She's 5'2". I'm not. Anyway, let's see. What else I want to say then? Oh, you don't want to do something if people know you're a Buddhist. You have to be very careful not to do things that they would then say, oh, he's a Buddhist and he did that. Or she's a Buddhist and she killed that mouse. What kind of Buddhist is, you don't want someone saying, what kind of Buddhist is that? Now, sometimes the people that say that don't know what they're talking about. For instance, someone comes up to you and says, well, I've read that you're supposed to kill your mother and father. So what kind of a Buddhist is that? And you have to know that that's referring to killing your mental afflictions, not your parents. You have to be able to understand that and then talk to them about it. Okay. Performing deeds which are only of lesser benefit for all living beings. Um, hmm. Now this is there are proscribed rules are the same throughout the world, and natural rules are the same throughout the world, like don't kill and don't steal. Prescribed rules are those made up in response to an event. So, for example, someone got drunk and caused problems, so the rule not to drink was made. This continued throughout Lord Buddha's life. He saw activity or actions or behavior by monks and nuns that he felt was inappropriate, and so he made a rule to stop that. In monastic vows, these rules pertain to keeping life simple. I'm not supposed to keep cloth for more than 10 days without making a new robe, unless I'm keeping the cloth to help others have robes. So that seems pretty mundane. I can't break that because I don't keep cloth. But the idea was, instead of having someone hoard cloth and have it sit somewhere and be of no use to anybody, it was keep life simple, have one or two sets of robes, and if you have extra cloth, make robes or give that to the ordained people that don't have the money. A bodhisattva must keep vows incredibly strictly. Prescribed rules must be broken if it benefits others. That's where skillful means comes into play. It might easily be possible that you'll come into a situation where you have to tell a white lie in order for someone not to be hurt or killed. Then, of course, you have to do the greater good, which is take on the fact that you made a lie, but you saved someone else's life. If you don't break the first 7 vows of morality, when an extraordinary circumstance requires it, you break your bodhisattva vow. So let me repeat that. If you don't break the first 7 vows of morality, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, harsh words, and idle talk, when an extraordinary circumstance requires it, you break your bodhisattva vow. For this vow to apply to you, to allow you to break one of those 7 levels of morality, vows of morality, you must be a bodhisattva who, for 1 trillion of years, has perfected your practice, have an extraordinary insight into when it is necessary to do something unusual to help others, and must possess ultimate great compassion. For this vow to apply, you must be very, very advanced. You must see that there is no other possible option other than breaking the morality vow to help the person. In the case of killing, specifically, if you don't have the power to transfer the person's consciousness to a higher realm, then this vow doesn't apply to you. So there's a classic example of how this works. And this would be an example of someone, could be an example of someone saying they've heard this story and it means Buddhists kill other Buddhists. This classical example is the story of one of Lord Buddha's previous lives when he was in a lifeboat. Some versions say a ship, but this version's a lifeboat. And realized the captain was going to kill all the rest so he could live, because Lord Buddha could read his mind. Lord Buddha killed the captain out of great compassion. So the captain would not incur the karma of killing everyone, including a high-level bodhisattva, Lord Buddha. With his pure compassion, Lord Buddha did not spend any time in the hell realms because of the pureness of his sacrifice for others. You must be able to transfer the person's consciousness to a pure realm. So this is not for the common person to conceive of. So for stealing, taking over a corrupt government that is harming the citizens, we're faced with a difficult. My wife and I are faced with a difficult situation because of our new president. He is. It is actually frightening to be in this country now with him as president because he doesn't appear to want to obey any laws. I have a great concern that a judge is going to tell him not to do something, and he's going to say, I'm doing it anyway because I'm president and you're not. And the Supreme Court gave him this immunity for doing illegal things. So it has us greatly worried, greatly worried. One of my students is Hispanic and is very concerned about being out on the street with her young son he's learning to talk and he loves to talk in Spanish, which is great. But she's concerned that some busybody is going to say, what are you doing here? You're speaking Spanish. You must be an illegal immigrant. I'm going to report you to the customs. And to have that concern and be in the United States of America is awful. It's awful in any country, but if you go to a country that says we don't like Buddhists, then don't go around wearing robes and talking about Buddhism. It's a terrible country to be in for that reason, but it's just, I can't tell you how upsetting it is. Now, having said that, where is it coming from? From me, from my past seeds, for being rude to other people, for not considering other people's religions or backgrounds. Now, I don't recall doing that, but I apparently have had more than one life in my time. So I need to accept responsibility for what's going on now and do something about it. And that's where my wife and I are trying when we have discussions at the dinner table or with other friends and family. We try and give an answer to a solution to the problem. And that's getting to be more and more difficult because he's just saying, oh, what did he say recently that was absolutely ridiculous? Oh, that Ukraine started the war. Hello? That's about as completely untrue as you could possibly be. So now what can I do about that as a US citizen? Well, it's a lie. So I need to make sure I'm not lying about anything. Anything. That's where this white lie issue comes in for me. So stealing, you only can do that if you're taking over from a corrupt government that's harming the citizens. Sexual misconduct, only if it's a life-threatening situation. Lying, to get other people to stop doing whatever horrible thing they're doing. So these are examples of when you can steal or sexual misconduct or lie, divisive talk, purposely create a schism in the song of a charlatan to get people away from them. Harsh words, only if it's the only way to correct someone who has ignored all of their avenues. Useless talk. If the only way to attract students to the Dharma is gossip, then you need to gossip. I don't understand this one. I can't imagine why gossip would help get students into the Dharma. But So, secondary vow number 12, being engaged in wrong livelihood, one which includes flattery. So you say to someone, wow, you look great today, thinking, how about some money? This one just makes me laugh because I don't, I like complimenting people on their clothes or their nails. I, if I could do it, I would have nail polish all the time. I think the colors you can have with nail polish are extraordinary. But our society in this country doesn't permit, well, in my monk's vows, doesn't permit me to do that. So I compliment people on their nails or their clothes. And I'm not hitting on a woman when I say, hey, she doesn't know I'm a monk, a nice fingernail polish. I think that would be, if I had nice fingernail polish, I'd be flattered that someone says, hey, that's a nice color on you, or that's a nice outfit. Um, but I have to be careful because someone could see me doing that and know that I'm a monk, and then they're going to think I'm hitting on someone, which would be breaking a vow. So hinting is another, hinting a man that wants food, man, that food looks great. Um, I have a story about that. My wife used to, she couldn't finish her meal. And so she'd offer it to me and I'd finish it for her because I was a glutton and liked to eat. And one day I said, are you going to finish that? And she looked at me, she said, I was about to offer it to you, but I'm not going to now. So that was hinting. Baiting, giving a little, expecting more back, harassment, pretense, faking realizations to get donations. Now, if the wrong livelihood comes up, if you're a waitress or a waiter or a bartender, you're not supposed to consume alcohol, more alcohol than can fit on the tip of a blade of grass, to be considered a student of Lord Buddha's, and you can't serve it. So one of Geshe-la's very closest students and an attendant for quite a while was a waitress. And she was an aspiring actress and didn't get many actress jobs because she wasn't well known yet. And she's a lovely singer, by the way. And so she was in a quandary because she needed a job. Waiting tables was a lucrative job because of the tips in New York, but she had to serve alcohol. So it was a dilemma. And Geshe-la's solution to that was try to find a job where you don't have to break a vow. If you can't, then it's important that you don't emphasize the alcohol. So if you're a waitress, instead of saying, well, we've got this Chardonnay that I think you'd really like, you present them with a wine list and let them make a decision. I had a job where I was supposed to sign off on analyses done by other technicians in the lab. And if I signed that piece of paper, I was legally liable for the result that they were presenting. So if we did an analysis for a water sample and I signed it and it said there was too much nitrate in the water. If that wasn't a problem, I'd be legally liable. So I didn't sign. If I didn't see the student, the technician do the work, I didn't sign the paper. Now that only happened in one lab I was in, but it was scary for a while because that meant that the results didn't get out to the client. But I didn't want to take responsibility for something that I hadn't done. You shouldn't have a job that makes weapons or drugs, cocaine, that kind of drug. Now, interestingly enough, have a job that's involved in silk production, it would be considered breaking the vow. The exception to this vow is if you're struggling to get out of it, then you don't break the vow, but you have to get out of it at some time. So if you're looking for another job that doesn't involve serving alcohol, then you're not breaking the vow to be serving alcohol during that, while you're employed in that particular job. Number 13, being wild or frivolous, wasting time and not being serious. So there's an exception. If you're struggling to stop and can't control yourself, that exception covers my jokes. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't struggle to stop telling my jokes. Well, I guess I do. Being wild or frivolous, to stop another's grief or depression, to lead another from doing a bad deed, to attract Buddhism to those who otherwise wouldn't. Number 14, to tell others that they need to delay reaching nirvana in order to help other people. You can best help people by reaching nirvana and total enlightenment for the sake of all others. So you should never tell someone to delay reaching nirvana in order to help others. There are three ways of looking at this. There's the king-like way. I will get enlightened first and then lead others to it. That's the one we espouse to when we take the Bodhisattva vows as Mahayana practitioners. There's shepherd-like. I will make sure others get there first, then I will do it. And then there's ferryman-like. I will reach enlightenment with everyone else. One we strive to do is the first one. I will get enlightened first and lead everyone else to enlightenment. 15, not to address rumors about yourself, not to clear your name with the motivation to prevent others from collecting negative karma by criticizing a bodhisattva. There's been controversy in Geshe Michael's career, and he tried originally to talk to the reporters and tell them his side of the story, and invariably they got it wrong. So he stopped replying to the negative press. So does that break this vow, not to clear your name with motivation to prevent others from collecting negative karma by criticizing a bodhisattva? That's a good question. My answer to that would be he addressed the rumors. He can tell people, I believe what he says is, I've addressed this before, I'm not going over it again, so he doesn't break the vow. It's tempting to read some of the bad press he got many years ago. My personal advice to any of you is do not read anything that's negative about Geshe Michael. If you have the opportunity to look on the internet, don't. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, 16, not to correct others, even if it must be done forcefully. Don't get hung up on what others will think. If you need to scream, do it. You must be wrathful when necessary, but be careful. Not to correct others, even if it must be done forcefully. That's, I can't think of. Well, there's one occasion when I got I've told you about the one where they were digging. It was one of the construction issues at Diamond Mountain. I got very angry there because I didn't want to collapse the septic field. So I didn't break this vow because I corrected them as I should have. So, okay. So between now and Tuesday, your homework is to meditate on how these 16 fit into your life. It's hard to think how many of these fit into your life. That's why keeping the book or keeping your vows via keeping the book is important. But like I've said many times, look for reasons to apply these instead of saying, "Oh, that doesn't apply to me. I don't have to worry about that one." Look for reasons that it does apply and work with it, because you'll find yourself saying, "Well, like I'm not supposed to climb into a tree higher than the height of than 6 foot 3 inches." Now, what does that possibly have to do with my life? I have no idea. But instead, I say, okay, I'm not supposed to climb on anything now because of Parkinson's and losing my balance and falling and breaking something. But when I'm not supposed to climb, I look at whatever I need to do and convince myself not to get on a chair to change a light bulb in the ceiling lamp. So that's fitting that not to climb any higher than 6 feet. That's fitting that into my life. So I think it's great fun to take these vows and see how they fit into your everyday life. Many of them won't. If you're not teaching, you don't have to worry about teaching someone that shouldn't be taught about emptiness. But anytime you start to discuss the pen with someone, you're teaching, which is great. But make sure you're teaching it out of the knowledge you have, and you're not going to frighten the individual. So it's like this friend of Natalia's that has a friend that's got Parkinson's. She could teach him about the pen, try to teach him about the pen, or she could go about it with the golden rule, not to hurt others, not to treat others as you'd have them treat you. Everybody knows the golden rule. So you could say to this individual, how does Parkinson affect your life? And for me, it's inconvenient. So he says, well, it's so inconvenient. She goes, well, what if you go out of your way not to be inconvenient to other people? Then you could expect that to happen for you down the road. And that's talking about karma and seeds, but not using that particular lingo. And it might not work, but again, you've given it a sincere try. So do think about how they fit into your life. And I do want each one of you to come up with something about a white lie that you may have told or were tempted to tell. And I will ask. It's on a note in front of my computer. So, and if I forget, someone can remind me. Okay, let's dedicate. O gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, please listen to what I now say. Just as all the previous Sugatas generated the mind of enlightenment and practice in accordance with Bodhisattva precepts, so shall I too, in order to benefit all that lives, give birth to bodhicitta and follow its precepts. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every level and path and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. Thank you for the opportunity to teach and have a good weekend. Anything going on this weekend? What's going on for us? I can't think of anything. Okay. Love you all. Thank you for being here and practice. Really try and fit these 16 into your life. And I'm really serious about the white lie issue. I'd like to see how a white lie pops up in your lives. So, okay. Thank you for translating. Was I talking too fast? Well, we're going to give a teaching in Romania and Armenia in August, and I've got my teaching notes. There's 77 pages of teaching notes, and I'm going to give those to the translators probably by the end of March, so they have 3 months to go through and translate it. So what that really means is you should learn English, or I should learn Russian. I think that chances of that happening are very remote. Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.